The topic I was going to discuss was dysphagia, which is the inability to swallow. I ended up not being able to swallow after a spinal cord injury about 21 months ago. And initially, I had a feeding tube in the hospital, and my swallow didn't come back. It's from my anterior surgery. Didn't leave me enough space for my esophageal swallow. The muscles couldn't push any food down my throat, so I'd end up aspirating as the food would come back into my windpipe. I have for about the last 18 months had a kangaroo button for a feeding tube. And I was told by my dietitian and other doctors at the rehab that I do something that's fairly unique. And some of you might be aware is Nutrin. And for 7 months as an inpatient in the hospital, this was my nutrition. This and mixed with protein powder, and then I was gravity fed it through a feeding tube 4 times a day, and it would take about 45 minutes as a slow drip feeder would feed me. So that was pretty time consuming, and if you lived in this for any length of time, I would much rather real food. So when I left the hospital and became an outpatient, I bought my first case of this, and I figured I'd buy a month's supply of Nutrin at $75 a case. It cost me about $700 with the protein powder per month to feed myself on a daily basis, which I found fairly expensive. Prior to the accident, I spent that sort of money on groceries, and I would be living now with steak and lobsters a lot of nights. So I found, since I left the hospital, I really wanted to find a way I could go back to eating real food. Just not just the nutritional value, I didn't like that this isn't natural. So I did look up and research some stuff on the internet with puree for children, feeding children puree, and then I also found some things about bolus feeding, which were a little more speedy as opposed to drip, because the two things was time and nutritional value, and I really wanted to get the most of it. So when they said it was unique, I thought it didn't seem that unique to me, but I thought I would share it and basically go through how I feed myself now with a tube and the inability to swallow, and make it helpful for you and save a lot of money. I spend about $300 a month, and I eat steak, chicken, fish, and all kinds of vegetables, and rice is one of my go-tos, basmati rice. But this is the equipment I use, and your local Walmart or any department store. Got myself I used to call it a pulse fire or a blender. It comes with a cup, comes with your blending stick. This one was $35. And then also the key to the cooking is rice cooker. This one was $15, local Walmart. It's about $50 in equipment. And I use 60cc gas tip syringes, which are compatible with the tubes for the kangaroo. Everyone might be different, but a 60cc is a fairly good size and works well. And then I use one without the cap on for liquids. But this is what I do. My typical meal, I'll use the rice cooker, and comes with a little steaming tray on the top, which is key. And rice cooker is really easy to use. I've got pretty used to it. There is measurements you use, but usually it takes me about a cup of rice. For a cup of cooked rice, I'll use about a cup of water, and then about, I would say, 3 to 4 tablespoons. I like basmati rice. You look it up, it has a little better nutritional value, but that's a good binder for when you're making any purees. You do, I know some people like a starchy, you might want a pasta or potatoes or things like that. What happens generally when you do go to puree them, they tend to still make things sticky. I find the rice remains drier, but still purees. So the consistency is much better when we get to, and I'll show you that later on when we get to using the syringes for feeding. But we got the rice in, we've got the water in, we'll put the steaming plate in, and today for our lunch, I usually buy frozen vegetables or mini carrots, but in this case we've got mini carrots put in the steamer tray. And also we have frozen vegetables, they just come in a ring. But usually I try and do a cup, sometimes a cup and a half, sometimes 2 cups of vegetables. It all depends on, and you'll get used to it, what they blend into. Meaning what some vegetables blend out, like cauliflower, you need to add a lot more liquid, so it makes a lot more volume. Where I find spinach and carrots you can add a bit more, because they tend not to make the volume. This is something you get used to, the more meals you make. Like I said, usually it's chicken, steak. If you get steak, you just want to get something with not too much grizzle. It won't puree in the end, but there's a lot of cuts. I've got sirloin tips. I use ribeyes or New York strips, and they'll cook well. The other one is all types of fish. This is, I do things frozen, it's much easier, they don't go off. This is wild cod. So I'll place the cod on top of the vegetables. Put the lid on the steamer, so I have the rice and the water on the bottom. Steaming tray, I have my vegetables, the carrots and the spinach, and then the cod. And then start the timer, and it turns off by itself. So this is why I find it's the most effective way. It's easy. You know, I don't have dishes, I have 1 steamer, 1 pot, and we'll let this cook. And depending on, if there's a chicken breast in there, it may take a little longer, but the nice thing is, it turns off when it's done. When it'll begin to steam, when it's finished steaming, we'll switch off, the rice will be ready, and whatever vegetables and meat you put in there. Very effective and inexpensive. But great way to go. I have gone on calorie counters just to figure out how much calories I'm getting from this way of eating. And I find if I do 4 meals a day, 3 of them consisting of the steamer, and sometimes 2 consisting of the steamer of real food. Then I'll do a protein shake. Sometimes for the last meal of the day or the 3rd meal, depending. It makes it much faster. I don't have to wait for it to cook. I usually, for protein shake, I'll do milk, scoop of peanut butter, maybe some Nutella, and also honey. And I mix that with a whole milk and a scoop of protein powder. I blend it, and I find I can, if you do it that way, the reason I like it is the shake you're able to bolus feed. What I mean by that, you can use an open syringe, and when we eat this meal, I'll show you the bolus. But I'm able to pour that shake through the bolus without injecting it, so it's a nice and easy way to have a protein shake, and it's a quick way to get 600 to 800 calories into your system very quickly. So, and for what I do for breakfast is rather than have a hot or cooked breakfast, I boil eggs in advance, and I'll put water, an egg, a whole avocado, obviously peeled and pitted, and then I peel and core an apple. I add that, and that tends to blend up at a very good consistency. It's got good natural fats in it. It's got some fruit, and also the egg for some protein. And then also accompany that in the mornings, I'll usually use a mango and blueberry frozen with some milk. as a shake as well. And that way I get some dairy and I get some fruit, additional fruit and berries in the morning. And usually in the morning I find, the two of them I'm able to do, because I like to have a larger breakfast. And then I don't need to, to early afternoon for a lunch, which would generally be a cooked meal. And I find timing on this, you just thought the prep time is about 5 minutes to be able to prep a meal. And then once the preparation's finished, usually 20 minutes, half an hour, I can go back and do the meal, which you'll see later in the video. All right. So now we let it cook. The light's turned. It's popped. It means the rice is done. The food's done. Remove the top, and be careful. There's a steam hole. You don't want to put your hand over that when you pull it up. And make sure you reach from the other side. Lift the top off. Put that in the sink. And we're going to take the fish, our cod, our spinach, our rice, or sorry, not our rice, our spinach, our carrots, and our cod. Put that all in the cup, the blender. We get the lid to wash, steamer plate to wash, and forgot to show this earlier. You always remember, really nice thing when you're in a wheelchair, if you are, put a towel on your lap. Because inevitably when you're dealing with food in the kitchen, somehow it's going to end up on your pants. And watch this plate to be hot, so just have to put it on. Sometimes the rice is done, you'll have some juice. I never like to lose it. No, I figure it's all nutritional. Put all that in the puree cup. And there's the dish. 1 spoon. Now, this is one thing I find a very healthy way to eat, but I don't find you get a lot of fat. I don't use a lot of seasoning, not that I couldn't add it at this point. But what I do is I use either virgin olive oil, or in this case, I'm going to use olive oil and mayonnaise. And what I'll do is, and this is fish, spinach, carrots, and the rice, I like to get something a little fat. So I'll put a tablespoon or 2 of mayonnaise, olive oil mayonnaise, like I said. And then, once I find a kind of a general rule of thumb, be it chicken, steak, a butterfly pork chop, or your fish, once you put your rice in, you always want to make sure there's enough liquid to cover the solids. I find that a good gauge, and you may need more water, but if you have your solids in there, you fill in all the space with water, generally will come in a fairly good consistency for the puree. So we've got that all set up. We'll take the puree, our pulsifier, and we'll get to blend it. General rule I've found, when you find rice in good consistency and you feel you're all the way blended, you're better to blend again for another 15 to 20 seconds. Reason being, if you get any bit of rice or there's a knuckle in the chicken, there's a better chance that you're going to catch that in the puree by doing a little extra than doing it too less. So one thing about feeding, the reason I don't use anything with too much skin, that's why I peel the apple for my breakfast or anything with seeds in it. Meaning if you're making a shake, you can't make raspberry or strawberry, tends to seeds and skins get stuck in your tube. But so will grizzle or a knuckle or anything like that. Even a little piece of it can log it. So just when you think you've done enough puree, you want to go ahead and do it again for another 15. And there we go. There we go, that's the last thing that we'll have to clean. Is our cup we're gonna eat with. And there we have our lunch or our meal. And it's nicely pureed. And we'll be able to use the syringes just with that and feed ourselves out to the tube, which I'll show you at the dinner table. All right? So, we made it to the dinner table. Got my 60 cc syringe. And then I also keep one syringe without the stopper, just for using it for a rinse. So once you've used one up, you can always pop the stopper out. They just pull back the little cap at the top, and you wiggle it, you can pop it out. It's also another way, good way to clean them. Pop those out. And then our kangaroo feeding tube. There is a pull clip on the tube. I used to use that, I don't so much. I find it tend to cause a snag. The tubes, if you use colder food, do get harder and softer, so sometimes pinch that and a change in temperature can cause a bit of a